How about now? Wow, just technical difficulties everywhere I go this evening. Thanks, Jesus. We're late because I'm having technical problems, and we go on, and I'm having even worse technical problems. Nah. So we'll try that again. Thanks for being here, y'all. We do not have Emery tonight. Emery's off doing something super important we're not going to talk about, but we do have T in the house. What's up, T?
What's happening, folks?
How's Miss Amber doing, brother?
She's doing good. She's doing good. Wearing me out on this new chicken coop project we've got going on. So keeping her occupied, though. Building the Taj Mahal of chicken coops currently.
Taj Mahal of chicken coops.
Yes.
And since Emery's out of town, that means Sue's left to his own devices. He's up in an awful dark spot. Where are you at, Sue? Oh, now
I'm actually in. I'm
oh.
actually in Denver. No, I was on mute because I was trying to hear you, so I turned it off.
And we have the man himself, the fit farmer, Mike Dickson, with us tonight. Mike, how you doing, man?
Doing well. How you guys doing?
We're fabulous. This is like average shows for us too, man. So you know, like this is kind of how they run.
There we go.
For me. So, guys, if you have questions for Mike tonight, you know, typical thing, hashtag fit farmer in the comment, and we will get to those towards the end. So if you got any questions for him, put them in there. So, Mike, I haven't seen you since Mountain Readiness. So what have you been up to, man?
Oh man, it's always busy here on the farmstead. Oh man, I've been to a couple of other conferences since the one in May, back in May, Mountain Readiness, and just trying to keep things moving here and things growing here on the farmstead.
And that's a full-time damn job. So for those that don't know, let's give them a little of your backstory. You had the American dream, right? The big house in town. You had, you were doing the job, to raise the family there, and then you guys decided to do something pretty damn radical and change that. So let's give them a little of the story of how you got to where you're sitting right now, because it's pretty incredible, really.
Oh man, I don't even know where to start. I grew up as a suburban city kid. I didn't have any background in agriculture or growing things at all. I grew up on the sad American diet, eating a lot of just sugar, processed food, McDonald's, Pop-Tarts, Slim Jims, all that stuff, cuisines. That was me. That was me growing up. But I did enjoy being outside, and I did enjoy sports. I was always into basketball and football, and just enjoy being outside. And that kind of led me just to being interested into working out. And I always admired Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jean-Claude Van Damme, watching their movies, and I'm like, man, I want to like those guys when I get older. I want to have muscles like those guys. So I was playing high school football, and then I was getting more into lifting weights and wanting to look like those guys. And I really just enjoyed being in the gym. I actually got to the point where I enjoyed being in the gym more than I actually like playing football at the time. And that kind of led me to wanting to be a bodybuilder. And actually, I still remember in high school, I had weight training class as part of one of my classes. And I was so into it, and I was researching everything. And the coach and we just kind of clashed. I started skipping his class to go to Gold's Gym to do my own workout, because I was like, this guy, I don't know what he's doing, but I'm not doing what he's doing. So I still remember my mom saying, he called my mom and was like, he's getting ready to fail weight training class. He knows what he's doing, but he's got to at least come a little bit more so I can pass him. I still remember that. So
skipping so much, yeah. I'm gonna have to fail this kid in weight training.
So who would have thought a former bodybuilder almost failed weight training class just because he didn't want to go, but he went to Gold's Gym instead. Oh, so I ended up being at the gym. I just love being at the gym, and there happened to be a amateur bodybuilder he was the manager at the gym, and I got to know him, and he's the one that kind of gave me an introduction to just being a bodybuilder. So I was just hooked on that scene, and come to find out as I'm doing the workout, but to get to the next level to be a bodybuilder, it's more than just lifting weights. You gotta eat the right. You got to have the right diet. So I started getting on studying more about nutrition, and then I eventually became a personal trainer, bodybuilding thing, and I started competing and just seeing the results of how your food plays an impact on the way you look as well as the way you feel. I still remember as I was changing up my diet and I started getting rid of all the processed junk and just started making the progression of eating natural, and then realizing, hey, natural isn't the way to go. I need to go organic, and just cleaning it up. I started feeling better. I remember going through most of my, probably from my youth on to early 20s, not being able to breathe out of both nostrils. And then when I started cleaning up my diet, I was like, oh man, I'm able to stop breathing out of both of them. And I remember asking my now wife, but girlfriend back then, is it abnormal for me to only go through my life only being able to breathe out of one nostril? And she's like, yeah, that's kind of weird. That shouldn't be. So
Shit. Yeah, they work as a pair, you know.
Yeah, you got two for a reason.
Yeah, they're like socks, you know. You need them both. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, who wants to walk around with just one leg if you can? You can't.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So some of those things started opening up my eyes and my wife's eyes. At the time we were really into the gym together. It was hard for me to find a consistent workout partner that was a guy that everyone would just not stick with me. And then my wife, we were just always together. I could always count on her to be there. And I still remember her spot me. I was doing like, I think maybe 450 on the rack for a set, and guys were like, "You sure you don't need it?" I was like, "No, I trust her better than anybody." So,
anybody here? Yeah.
So that was just how our relations kind of evolved, and we were both just on the track together of eating better, and we eventually got married, and then both of us were really just on the journey and going down the rabbit hole of food, and that is what led me to wanting to get into growing food. We had bought our first house together in the city, and just outside of Charlotte. And I was like, you know what? I've never had a garden. I've never grown anything. It's our first house together. I want to grow some food. So I remember I took out all the ornamental, the holly bushes and the nandinas in the house that we bought. I ripped all of them out of the front yard, and I started growing things in there. So I was the only weirdo in our neighborhood growing corn and tomatoes in the front yard. So I still remember we were trying to tell people how to get to our house, and you're like, you just go down, and we're the house that has corn growing in the front yard, yeah, right in front of the front door.
Yeah, up the walkway, the planters. That's us. Yeah.
So because that's really how ultimately it was based on health is what really got me into growing food, because I knew that to know what's really in your food, you actually kind of need to know the story behind how it's grown. So we just started growing things right there in the city where we were, and I got hooked on it. It was just so empowering to grow and produce your own food, then to eat it and then share it with others. It's just powerful.
Absolutely. Well,
food
is I hate to say it's a weapon, but it is, because everybody needs it, and that's how it's always been used in the past, and it shouldn't be viewed that way. And then you look at some of the states and other countries around the world that are outlawing private gardening. The idea that you are not allowed to even produce your own food. So we know we can't hunt the king's deer without a permission slip. So now we're not even allowed to grow our own food without a permission slip. Is where they're trying to go. And into the preparedness space, everybody talks about preparing and storing and having this much put up and whatever. And if you've got a year's worth of food, that's great. But what I always like to ask is, what are you going to eat on day 366? That's where production comes in, which was the next step of what you guys did.
Yeah. It's just downright evil for anyone to try to take away the right of anybody to produce their own food and sustenance for them to live on and to survive. So yeah, it's a basic right that every human being should have. Bottom line, period.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that shouldn't even be discussed anymore. That's
yeah.
Yeah,
we got close to the same.
Totally agree.
We got close to the same type of a story there. as Mike and Lacey do as well. We started our garden there outside of Fort Wayne, Indiana. Of course, that's the second largest city in Indiana, and caught mad ridiculousness from the city for growing a garden within city limits. Even though it was a very large lot, it was actually a double lot. We were told that it was varmints. It was attracting varmints. So that's what prompted us to make our move, sell everything, and move to North Carolina. Was that right there? And we were known as the weird ones too, Mike. Everybody's like, oh yeah, those people has got gardens and stuff, grow sheds and firewood. They have firewood. Those people have firewood stacked in their backyard. It was something that was a big deal.
And you lived in Indiana where winter came every year. Like winter came every year to Indiana. But it's weird.
Every year by the feet of snow. By the feet of snow.
By the feet of snow. So Mike, you guys made the decision at some point to say that your food production, I'm guessing for what you're saying, is that the wanting the ability to produce your own food at scale enough to feed yourself was kind of the impetus for you guys to start looking homestead directions, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's similar to what T was saying. So as we started doing more and more of what we could on our city plot there, we got to the point where it was the seeds were starting to be planted in our minds that maybe we need to move somewhere else to do this. We were starting to have children at this point, and it became even more on my mind that I wanted to make sure that we were providing them with the best food that I was able to. So as we were trying to grow more and having some weird neighbors on all sides of us, and the straw that broke the camel's back for us was I wanted to have chickens. I was into bodybuilding and I needed to get some protein sources in there. I was like, I want to raise some chickens, but then the city ordinances said no chickens at all. And then we knew our neighbor, especially one of them in particular, who he was pretty anal about various things. He would call and report people, and he'd be on his roof of his house blowing his leaves off. There were too many leaves on there. He was just one of those neighbors. I was like, you know what? I think we just need to sell everything and just move out of the city and just really start take this thing to the next level, start producing more, and get our kids out of here, because we were also on a city road where traffic was going up and down. And I just wanted our kids to just be able to get out and to explore and to be kids and not have to be worried about getting ran over and things like that. So we ended up deciding we didn't have a budget. We didn't really have that much money at all, but we came up with a plan that we were just going to sell it all. We're going to sell our house, pretty much sell everything that was in the house to make this happen. Thankfully, there was some land that's in our family that we were able to move on to, but we were like, how are we going to fund? What are we going to live in? How are we going to fund that? So with what we sold our house for, we were able to come on Craigslist, and it just happened to be there was a used yurt on Craigslist for sale, and we went up to buy it and looked at it, made them an offer, and they said we'll take it. So we picked up our yurt. It was about 2.5 hours maybe from where we live now, brought it and put it in the garage of our house in the city until we were able to sell it all, sell our house and everything else, and set it up on this property. So that was our vehicle, and the yurt has been our vehicle. That's what we live in, is a yurt. It's been our vehicle to be able to have a place to live and to continue and start our journey here. Now that we're in the country, we're in the rural area, living the dream of producing food and sharing life together. And so from there, once we moved on to this property, go ahead.
No, I said you guys are still living in a yurt today. Like you're still living in one. I think they're an awesome structure. That's why it's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's what I'm in right now. It's it looks slightly different than when we started. It comes as a kit. We got our kit from a specific yurt kit. We set it up. It had like the canvas siding. Yep. Since then, we've remodeled it and took off the canvas siding, and we have hard siding now. And T's seen it. So that's what we live in now. We lived here now for about 9 years, 700 square feet. And we actually just bought our second yurt last year, and we're looking to set that up here really soon. And this one is 6 of us now here in 700 square feet. And our house in the city was 2,600 square feet. So almost 2,000 square feet difference that we've been able to make work.
But you're getting back to it.
Sue,
Amber,
so you
Amber
know,
and I were
YURT
both.
is-
Go ahead, tell them what it is.
Oh, I just want to make sure Sue knew what a yurt was. It's like a squashed teepee, Sue. You know,
Oh, I know
same
what
thing.
a yurt is. And I admire Mike as a man who has 4 ex-wives. I wish I would have started that way. When I lost houses, I would have just said, "Oh yeah, she can have the yurt."
Yeah, that would have been a better route. That would have been a better route for sure. Nailed it.
Yeah, much easier to start over.
Yeah.
But he's a lucky man. He's got a woman that wants to live in the yurt with him. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. There was some adjustments.
Yeah.
No, Amber and I were both over there. What was that? Was it last week or the week before? I can't remember. Bleeding together.
Somewhere like that.
We got to see the extended yurt version. It's like there'll be yurts all over the place. You're not going to have a yard left here soon. It's just going to be yurts all over the place with breezeways between them. It's like a little
yurt
yurt.
village.
It's going to be a yurt city.
Yurts. I think they call that a village. They call that a village.
Is that what that is? My bad. I was raised in a tent. I don't really know what that kind of stuff is.
Yeah. You weren't raised in no fancy yurt. You lived in a tent. You know. I did think it was hilarious earlier though, how T knew he was the weird neighbor where he was living, but Mike said that he had weird neighbors. But T knew he was the weird neighbor in his neighborhood.
I knew. We knew. I was like, yeah, we had a bunch of issues with neighbors, man. We had to move, not only just because we couldn't do chickens, they didn't like our gardens, but I'm pretty sure that Amber or I, probably Amber, was going to end up in prison if we stayed there too much longer. She was feuding with all the neighbors about parking spots, and it got out of hand. I was sure she was going to be doing hard time if I didn't get her out of the city. So we had to pack up and go, man, or she'd have been, I've been visiting her in the Gray Bar Motel.
That's too funny. That's too funny. So once you guys finally sold out, Mike, and you've got the patch of dirt, and you've got a yurt, that's far from a house or a homestead for that matter. How many acres was it? What kind of condition was the land that you had moved on to?
Well, the land is my wife's grandfather used to live here, and on part of the property, my father-in-law has run a masonry construction business for years. But once her grandfather had died, no one lived on the side that we're on. And it was just an old trailer that was not livable, had mowed all that in there. So before I set the yurt up, we had to demo that all down and clean everything up. So that was a process. It wasn't an overnight. We just popped the yurt up. So it was some work. Yeah. So a lot of scrap metal, a lot of burning wood, a lot of just cleaning up. And then once we got everything back to bare dirt, then we had to we ran into some there we go. We got a little screenshot there. Yeah, that's what it looks like now. But to get it going, some of the hurdles that we came across was the city did not know how to deal with us as far as like building codes, and so a lot of that took a lot longer than
ask about that.
Wish we would have.
Yeah.
There were no amendments in Mongolia.
Yeah, I was curious.
There were no amendments in the building code under Mongolian.
Yeah.
Mongolian.
So it depends on the county, and our county just didn't know what to do with it, and it was like there was hurdle after hurdle, little things here. They would say, you got to change. And it was just like doing whatever we could to accommodate them. But I learned a lot through that process. And one of the things that I learned, and we didn't find it out regretfully until the end of the process, is we were self-funding it. Since we'd sold everything, it funded. There was no bank involved. If we would have known that, if we would have told them that up front early on, it would have saved us a lot of headaches. So anybody who's maybe self-funding something like we did, I definitely recommend letting them know early on that you're doing that, because a lot of the things that they have to jump through, they're thinking about the bank in mind, and there was no bank involved. So I wish we'd have known that sooner.
Wow.
But we got the yurt up finally,
So
and then go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
It's not. No, I was just saying. So after you got it up, yeah, you were you also conditioning land, or is this a kind of a focused project? If we got to get this out of here before we can progress anywhere else, so that's all I was going to ask.
We dabbled with trying to start a little garden, and that was a mistake. I think, especially if you're doing something like we're doing, and there's not already a structure already really set up and ready to go for you in your housing situation, I recommend don't even try to start gardening or growing anything until you get your living space situated first. Because if not, you're just too scattered brain, and just really get that nailed down first. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least functional. I totally recommend that first. And I think even Joel Southon talks about when you move on to the land, just to let it rest for that first year. And I think that's also important. He mentions that, so that way you can observe the land, see how the rain falls at different times of the year, and you can see what would be a good spot to even put a garden to begin with.
Yeah. Spend some time on it, like you said. You get around for a little while, kind of, as it were.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
So
exactly. And
so once you were comfortable and you had tried it on for a while and spent time cleaning it up and put up the yurt, I think the yurt's so cool. And I was going to ask you if the municipalities gave you guys so much grief about that. But it's cool to see a hard-sided yurt, because I'm looking behind you going, he's got light switches on the wall. I'm like, he can't still be living in a yurt, but yeah, hard-sided yurt. So that's cool.
Yeah,
I mean, that's awesome.
With a yurt, you can go as primitive as you want, or as luxurious as you want. So somewhere in the middle, I guess we're on.
I would
utility
yours
wise,
a little more.
I'm
Mike,
I'm from out.
Go ahead.
I'm from out west. Yeah, Mike, I'm from out west, and they don't call that a yurt out. They call that a hogan on the Navajo Indian Reservation. So it's kind of 8-sided, isn't it? I mean, tell us what's the advantages of living in a yurt? I mean, it's pretty easy to heat and keep cool in the summertime, isn't it?
It's a circular structure. So one of the things people often ask us is about wind. And actually, since it's circular, it's more aerodynamic. So the wind doesn't necessarily affect us exactly how it would like a trailer or something like that. So just kind of, it's interesting how it just kind of blows around. But we are more, I would say, connected to nature. You do hear the rain and things like that more. Animals outside, you do hear those a little bit more, so which makes you connected. I still remember my first night spending here. It was kind of freaky. We heard there were so many frogs. I have no idea how many frogs there were, and they were just so loud. I was like, this is crazy. This isn't like suburban area I'm from. This is loud.
There's a story that Amber I have to tell you about bullfrogs sometime. We'll just leave it at that, though. She's on here. I can't really talk about her much. I see her piping on the chat here now and again, but those loud bullfrogs.
And there was one night where we heard what sounded like a woman getting beat in the woods, getting abused. So I was like,
Jesus.
I got to go see what's going on out there. She might need help. So I go out there, and come to find out it was a fox doing a mating call. I was like, I'd never heard this before. This is crazy. I had no idea what I was going to find out there. So that's why
Mike needed that year. That's why Mike needed that year after he moved in, before he started gardening, because he was too afraid to go out after dark until he figured out what all of it was, you know. Okay, I can write that one off. But what the hell is that? What is that? You know?
First year here, Amber would not. She would not go from the house to the car when it got dark without her M4. For a year. For a year, she packed an M4 back and forth from the house to the car, with a flashlight, the whole thing, man. She was ready to go. I said, you'll probably be okay. It's just bullfrog. She's like, nope, M4. So that's what we did for our first year here. She's come a long ways though. 9 years, man. She's a country girl now. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Mike,
with an M4,
M4 flashlight. I mean, she was kitted out just to carry groceries in.
Oh man.
Amber's pulling security in the driveway, making tea, hustle groceries between the house and the car.
Oh yeah, she's out there. Yeah, carrying all the bags of groceries in. She's got my 6. So, Mike, I think we had this conversation before, but did you not tell me that you no longer even lift weights or work out at all anymore?
No.
And see, that makes me super upset because you talk about 450-pound bench presses, like it was nothing. And your arm still looks like the size of most people's legs, and you don't work out at all. That's upsetting me.
I would say I don't work out. I don't go to the gym anymore.
Right.
So
yeah. Right.
I probably stopped it's been maybe about 5 or 6, maybe 6 years ago, somewhere in and out around there. That's when I stopped going to the gym. I used to live there. But now that what I say is real physical work is the original workout. So before the times of people being real idle, when people really had to do a lot of physical labor, when most of the society was homesteading, you didn't see gyms around. They mainly are needed for a society that is idle, or you're needing to train for a specific thing, whether you're training for some type of army or whatever, or sporting. Other than that, to get your exercise in, you just need to be physically active. And we ultimately just need to be fit for the life that we need to live. So we need to have an exercise or fitness level that matches our lifestyle. And if our lifestyle is very sedentary, then our fitness level will kind of match that. But the more active you are, the more all the workout that I do now, it comes from being out on the farmstead, whether it's splitting wood, whether it's carrying hay bales, lifting hay bales.
Chasing a cow. Maybe chasing a cow.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, man, standing next to Mike is not I'm not going to say he's not a super tall guy, but he can run with the best of them, man. He can run. You're a runner.
Yeah, I used to be running back in high school.
There's no doubt.
But yeah,
we had this
chasing cows. Go ahead.
Mike and I had this conversation in the pre-show, and I was telling about my sons, and they'd always come up to me, and I'm digging a fence post or doing something outside in the pasture, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to the gym and work out." And I'd always say, "Well, why don't you stay home and work in? You can get just as tired doing this."
Yeah. I still remember during high school and football, there would be the farm boys that would come, and we'd be amazed at how strong they are. We're spending all this time in the gym, and then they would come, not lifting any weights at the gym at all, and they would be so much stronger. And we'd just be like, wow. And that didn't hit me really until we actually have been living this lifestyle now. And then now I see my, at the time, I think he was 6 years old. He picked up a 50-pound feed bag and just loaded it on the car. And I was like, wow, there's no way I would have been able to do that at his age. But it just shows that when you living the lifestyle, those type of things come with it. You just build that strength within what you were doing on a regular basis.
Yeah, back when I was an industrial electrician, my wife used to always tell me that I needed to go to the gym. And I was like, no, I don't. I go to work every day. I don't need to. She said it's not the same thing. And I'm like, look, if I pick up a 90-pound stick of rigid conduit, 4-inch diameter, 90 pounds, and I climb 16 stories with it, that's a workout.
Yep.
I don't care who you are. Yep. That's a workout, So,
yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's all about your life, how you live,
Yeah, even my brothers-in-law, who if work for my father-in-law, they've done masonry construction and just lift brick and block all day. We went to the Arnold Classic, and they had the hand grip strength test there, and they were able to close everything that pretty much the strong guys could do with just the grip strength. They had the grip strength that matched theirs, and I was just like, wow, that's pretty impressive. But they're lifting all day long the same thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they pick up that 16-pound block. How many? Well,
Yep.
100 times a day. That 16-pound
Yep.
block.
Some of
either
them are-
hand, you know.
Yep.
Yeah,
Some of them 50 and
Yeah,
100 pounds.
so-
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, before going to the army, I worked the oil field, and they used those roughnecks out there used to have. They would take the vice grips and they would put a couple turns on them, and then they would have contests to see who could close the vice grip with the most tension on it. I've actually
Wow.
seen them break the jaws off of vice grips. It's amazing how strong those
Wow.
boys get. You know, after
Wow.
working those tools all day long.
Wow. Yeah. So you could get all that exercise without going to the gym. Yeah.
Yeah, design your life around that. So how many acres
Exactly
is that place
right.
you're on?
We're at 10 acres is our immediate property, and we're leasing some across the street where we're running our pastured egg layers as well as turkeys this year and our goats. So that's a number of acres across there. I actually don't know. I think it's like 70 acres or so, but we're just using a portion of it. So you could do a lot with 5, 10, and even 20 acres.
Yeah. You're a brave man doing turkeys. We did those once. I'll never mess with them things again.
What was your
mean,
problem?
you know,
Did they
when
die on you early on?
No, they destroyed the hood of my truck. They wouldn't stay off of my truck.
Oh man.
And neighbors too. Neighbors complained because they would go in the neighbor's yard and get on their cars. And let me tell you what, when a turkey scratches the paint on your car, he scratches the paint on your car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I finally lost it and just sold them out. And we had this like a 94 Honda Accord rolls up in my yard, and these 4 Mexican guys get out, and I'm looking and I'm like, you got a cage? And he's like, no. And I was like, what are you gonna do? And he's like, and they had a 2-hour drive to where they were going.
Whoa.
I knew they were going. So he was gonna sit in probably an 84 Honda Accord holding a Royal Palm turkey that was enormous. And
He got to work out
but I
there
wanna
for
bring
sure
him
because
North
those
Way,
are some
man.
strong birds.
yeah, he probably got to work out at home.
Man.
So you're running some chickens and some turkeys and some goats. Are goats the biggest livestock you're doing on your homestead?
The biggest livestock I'm doing, I would say, is chickens first, ducks second would be the two that I would say. We do chickens and ducks for eggs and meat. And this year was really the year first. Let's take that back. Last year was the first year that we raised turkeys just for my family. This year is the year that we opened it up to raising turkeys for other families as well. So that's something we'll plan to increase for next year, is growing turkeys for the holidays next year as well.
That many people liked it?
And of course they think they find out we have turkeys, and I had them all sold, and they're like, oh, we want some turkeys. I was like, I can't just pop out a turkey. I need to know ahead of time so I can actually raise them. So we're having a waiting list going for next year.
With what Lacey threw out there on the media. Yeah, with what Lacey threw out there on the media, man, those things look phenomenal. You guys had for Thanksgiving. So if that doesn't sell turkeys, nothing will.
Yeah, we're pretty pleased with how they turned out. Definitely a learning curve with turkeys. They want to die at first. And Chris, I don't know if you had yours in a fence or not, but we use electric fencing for ours, and we've had success with them staying in. But yeah, they could be.
Ours were free range. They had a coop. They cooped up with the chickens at night. They would go in there and coop with them, and then the rest of the day it was free range. They could go wherever the hell they wanted. And the turkeys were gentle. I'll give them that. Like our dog had a hen that she was like 7 years old. You'd look out the window and she's got this turkey hen under her arm walking around the yard with it. She didn't care. And the last picture we had of that hen turkey, she's sitting in a roasting pan on our dining room table. A lot, just to make those chicken fit. So, what are you looking for? Milk, I'm running at me. Oh, she's looking for
Strangely enough.
So
What do you, hey Mike? What do you use your goats
sorry,
for?
guys, my connection.
I noticed in your YouTube, Mike, you had some goats too. Are you just using them to clear some land, or what's the main purpose of your goats?
The main purpose with our goats started out to be for milk. We bought dairy goats, and but we've also found and learned through the process of raising them that we've also been utilizing them for clearing land and land maintenance as well. So we do enjoy drinking milk. So in addition to the goats, we just a little over a month ago, we got our first dairy cow. So that's been an interesting journey. So yeah,
I've got one
journey
that I'm about to send to freezer. I got a Jersey who just will not stay inside of a 5-acre pasture for nothing. She tears fence down constantly. And,
man!
So she's getting ready to go to free.
Yeah, ours is a Jersey.
I'm so sick of her.
Oh man, ours is Jersey. She's been all right. We had a rough start, but now we're she's my buddy now. So she stays in the fence and she gives us the milk willingly. So we got a good relationship going.
Chris had a lot of issues with animals. It seems like. Pigs. I've heard stories about pigs, turkeys. Now it's a Jersey cow. He's striking out.
Yeah. Well, there was a mass shooting of hogs at my place one day. The turkeys. But see, I don't bring any of these animals home. That's the secret. None of these animals
are the same.
I like chickens. I love chickens.
Tell them that you have PTSD.
I have.
Mel says
trying to hand me a bunch of goats. She's trying to get me to take goats. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not bringing goats in.
I think that goats are the most difficult farm animal to raise. I would not recommend starting anywhere near there starting off. Chickens is the easiest.
No. Chickens.
Yeah, I try to follow.
I raise chickens and turkeys.
Yeah.
I try to follow all the homesteaders' advice and everything, but I'm like Chris. I don't have a hobby farm or I don't have a homestead. I have a zoo, and I don't bring the animals home. I'm just a zookeeper, and they're all named. And nothing's going in the freezer.
No,
that's
not like that around here.
I don't know if any of y'all saw the photo shoot that Amber did with the chickens and the rooster on Facebook, but it's worth looking at, to say the least.
Oh my God.
So she said, "What are we going to do with this rooster if he's mean?" I said, "We're going to eat him." And she's like, "No, you can't eat. I don't remember what his name is. He's got a name. They've all got names." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I don't even know what to do at this point." So I feel what you're saying, Sue. Well, I'm in the same boat.
I told Mel that I've got PTSD from her bringing animals home, and that she's on restriction for a decade. If it's got a pulse, she can't bring it to the house. I need a decade.
I've got a heifer.
No
at
new
my
heartbeats.
house. I can open the gate. I got a heifer, an Angus heifer. She's in a halter. Her name's Dolly. I can open the gate. She follows me out, and then I just let her roam around the front yard and everything else. And all the neighbors call and say, "One of your cows is out." And I was like, "No, I let it out." Just that tame. So if I want her to come back, I get a little bit of sweet corn or sweet feed or grain in a bucket, and I just shake the bucket, and she comes running. So I don't have to worry about it.
There we go.
Now the other cows aren't that way. No. So,
no.
But it's fun keeping my wife,
and it was me out there with a flashlight. Yeah, keeping my wife's zookeeper. Mine got out, and I'm out there with a bucket with just some dog food in it because I didn't feel like trying to go get corn way over in the barn and trying to convince her to follow me back through the gate with the bucket, a flashlight in one hand, and a 45 in the other because she is not nice. And she's still got horns. So she remembers that shit. When she was little, I roped her to worm her and do stuff like that when she was a calf. And I think she remembers that and holds a grudge. So I don't mess with her a whole lot. The next time we'll be wrapping her in butcher's paper. That's the next time we'll mess with her.
Mike, you're doing a bunch of stuff now online classes now, aren't you?
We're trying to get into more as I've got, well, let's see here. Where do I even start with that? We've gotten more into diversifying various things that we're doing here. When I first came here, we had to figure out how to make it all work. So I was still working off the farmstead as a personal trainer, and I loved the gym at one point, and I had never foreseen myself going to do anything else. But it got to the point where I hated being there. I really enjoyed being here on the farmstead and really just wanted a different lifestyle. I felt like my adrenals were just burnt out from the high-paced music constantly pumping in the background and being there 12 to 14 hours a day in the gym setting. I was just burnt out and done with it. So I was eventually able to start producing some income here on the farmstead, and I had to figure out where to do that from. And that ultimately came from running a market garden where we were raising high rotation, small crops in our market garden space that we created. I found a mentor that I learned from to kind of help me to speed up my learning and knowing what to grow and when to grow it. And that was a tremendous blessing to be able to do that. And I highly recommend whatever you're trying to do, find a mentor to kind of help guide you in the direction to go who's successful in that area. That helped me out a lot. So I was able to have a market garden where we were selling garden produce. That was the focus that I decided to focus on. And that was able to generate income to where I was able to go from full-time off the farmstead to part-time to eventually able to be here full-time on the farmstead. And then also around that time is when I started doing the YouTube thing, and we started making some revenue from that too. So we're generating income at that time. It was the market garden and then YouTube, and we were also selling chicken eggs and things like that. As part of our market garden, and we were running a CSA. And for those who don't know what a CSA is, basically community supported agriculture, where it's basically a buyer's club for your farm. So we had members that we were providing produce to. They would prepay a certain amount of months ahead of time, and we would deliver them produce. We were doing bi-monthly, but you could either choose weekly, bi-monthly, or monthly. I've seen farms do all of those. And that was a big deal to keep cash flow coming in. So, and then over the years, we've been able to diversify a little bit more with our YouTube channel and trying to do more, getting out to speaking at conferences and teaching at workshops and also consultations and things like that. We're doing as well. So that's a long answer to your question.
That's a good answer, man. That's a good answer. You guys have put a lot of work and effort, and of course you work. You speak at Homesteaders of America and multiple platforms, including Mountain Readiness and stuff like that. So, I mean, you guys, that all the work and effort. It was funny. We were talking when we were over at your house. Everyone just sees the here and now. And the backstory, though, all the hard work and hours and sleepless nights and, fighting the elements, fighting Mother Nature, all these things that go into where you're at now, man. It's commendable. Love hearing it.
Appreciate that, because there were times that I wanted to quit. I'll be 100% honest with you. We oftentimes we over romanticize what it's going to be like. And then you're faced with the learning experiences of problems, and it tests you. It really did test us. We had animals, especially chickens early on, raccoons, hawks, owls. They were devouring them for a short period of time until we figured we had to learn. We had to learn different things. We had problem after problem, and it'll test you. It tests you individually, spiritually, mentally, relationally. So yeah. So
yeah, tell us about your relationship with my wife. I did this big garden for her, and I find out, and I give her a pack of seeds, and she comes back like 5 minutes later and says, "Okay, give me another pack." I said, How'd you sow those? I said, "Did you ever garden before?" And she goes, "Yeah, my grandma." I said, "Well, show me where you planted those radishes." And she had a row about that long with a whole pack of radishes.
Oh man! Oh man!
I was like, let me guess. You didn't ever sow the garden with your grandma, did you? She goes, "Well, no." And And then a couple months later, you know, she's like, "Oh, our garden's looking great. Look how green it is." I said, "Those are weeds. You haven't been out there weeding the garden." Well, that was a little stressful on my relationship with my wife and Gordon. Have you run across the same thing with your wife? Or?
Let's see. Mine was different. She had somewhat of a similar experience with her grandparents. She talked about the same thing, that she grew up having a garden and all this, but they were the ones that did most of the things. So she was familiar with it. She was probably more familiar with like the canning side of being hands-on, but not as much with the hands-on in the garden. So, but we all have learned a lot along the way, and figuring out your different roles and things too, and strengths to complement different areas. It's a learning curve as well. I'm sure T's kind of gone through some of that a little bit too. Just figuring out who does what, when, and who's responsible.
You know,
for,
but I will
what.
say, you know, Lacey though, she's hardcore. You know, and Amber is too. Both. What our wives are they're tough. They're tough. You know,
Yeah.
Lacey running heavy equipment and stuff like that. I love seeing. You know, she's out there with the bobcat and moving trees around and stuff. I mean, it's impressive. It's impressive.
Yeah.
So I think we lucked out though, Mike. We've got some of the best women there are out there. They're not afraid to jump in and get dirty and fight the elements with us. You know, so we actually just got home this evening, and of course, you know, it was dark at 5:30, the usual evening, and Amber out there in the dark. I'm like, "Where's Amber at?" She's outside cleaning chicken coop and, you know, doing all this stuff. You know, it's her happy place. So, you know, it's a win-win situation.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Because my wife does things that I don't necessarily want to do, and vice versa. We just kind of fill in the gaps. Like even with the cow, I don't necessarily want to be the one down there milking, and I enjoy the milk, and we all enjoy the milk, but I'd rather be the one handling it, do more of like the physical stuff, and she could be the one making cheese and all that stuff. I'll be the one out there moving chickens and animals around and do all the different things we do. I'll go out there and be the one working physically in the garden and sweating all day or whatever. And if she could just be the one making the food, which she's great at, I am not. So we're just finding that balance and what works is important.
Hey, you know, it's the same. It's the same here. It's the same here because Amber, she's going to get mad because I'm going to tell on her. Amber loves to cook. Tries to act like she doesn't. She loves it. And there's nothing wrong with that because I love to eat. And so it's a perfect union of the two.
There we go.
So, well, I know Chris, it looks like disappeared on us for the time being, but can we get some of these questions thrown up here for Mike? I know some of them's been highlighted. Do we have any questions there we can throw Mike's way? So here we go. Mike, do you think your breathing issue was caused by inflammation due to the processed foods?
I totally do. I think it was inflammatory foods, primarily sugars, that was causing it. It could have been some other things, other junks and things that I probably can't even pronounce ingredients wise, but I totally feel that it was that because once I cleaned up the diet, those things went away. A lot of things went away.
You know, and I can attest to that. I may backslide just a little bit now and again. I have this horrible addiction to ice cream. I'm not going to lie. I love ice cream. And we've stayed away from it for quite some time. And then here a few weeks ago, I was like, man, I'd like to have some ice cream. I'm just going to have a little bit. We ate it in the evening and we laid down. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I'm not even kidding you. I didn't know a bowl of ice cream would do that to you, but your body gets more and more sensitive, you know, to poisons and toxins. And just that one bowl of ice cream, I was about to stroke out right there in the bed.
Yep. Oh, another one that comes to mind is I still remember the day that I quit having sodas. I grew up drinking Sprite, 7-Ups, Pepsi's, Cokes multiple times a day. And one day I still remember I was in Florida, I think Fort Lauderdale, went to a Chinese buffet, and I just drank as much soda as I wanted while I was at that buffet, and my back was killing me. Like it was like my kidneys were about to explode. I had hints of that when I would drink soda before that, but that time really, and it hurt so bad. I had to tell my friend who was riding in the car with me, I was like, you got to drive back home. My back just hurt too bad. But for me, that was opened my eyes up to, if I'm hurting like this, I don't need to be drinking that crap.
No, 100%. If you can clean batteries with it, you probably shouldn't ingest it. So,
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky. All my kids don't drink soda, and I've gotten away from it completely.
same here.
I did have the same issue of breathing, having a hard time breathing through both nostrils, but that's because when I was younger, I had a very short boxing career. I sucked at it, so I think I had.
Yeah,
I
that
went
doesn't
about
help
zero.
either. That doesn't help either.
Yeah, I went about 0 and 6, and I was like, I better do something else besides boxing. I'm not very good at it.
So there's the lovely Amber Toombs. Mike, are y'all able to grow year round? I'm thinking of trying next year. Now are you guys doing year round production now, food production?
Yes, we can. Maybe not necessarily to the extent like places like Florida can, but we can grow things like greens year round, arugula, radishes, a lot of different lettuces, especially if you're doing things like low tunnels or greenhouses. It doesn't even have to be heated here. We can grow those things year round here. Now, you can't necessarily. It's a lot harder unless you have a heated greenhouse to grow something like tomatoes or something like that. But a lot of the greens here, we totally can. We're in zone 7B, I believe is what they have it listed as. I know some of them had changed recently, but yeah, we totally can grow a lot.
Awesome. Yeah, that's and then you do a lot of microgreen production as well.
Yep, everybody can grow microgreens.
Yeah, I mean, how do you get started with that? What's the best way to go about that? I know Amber, she's got into it. We started doing some of that stuff. For the people out there listening to this, how do you get started with that? Because that's a great, man, talk about a lot of, there we go. Have the microgreens been profitable? What are the benefits?
Microgreens is one that it could be something that's you just consume for yourself, or it can become a business. I know people who've run microgreen businesses out of their garage. The key to is finding a place where you can buy bulk seed where it's cost effective. There's a number of companies that you can do that with, but you don't want to buy them by the pack. You want to buy them in bulk because those are ones that you're gonna sow them like Sue was talking about. His wife did with the radish seeds. That you want to do with microgreens. You don't want to do that in a garden space where you're trying to get an actual radish. But for the radish microgreens, you can grow them like that. And basically, for those who don't know what microgreen is, it's basically a plant start. The seed will sprout, and then it'll become a start where it has like its first leaves on it. And then you're going to cut those leaves and harvest them when they're just a couple inches tall. And there you have your microgreens. You can sell them to restaurants. A lot of you can put them on salad, sandwiches. I enjoy them on tacos, all kind of different dishes. A lot of them some of them have different flavor, like your radishes will have like more of like a peppery flavor. Then you have your sunflowers and other ones that just have different flavors to complement different dishes. And they also add to the aesthetics of a plate.
Most definitely. Now, when you said you can sow it just like with the radishes, there is a limitation to that because we got a little seed heavy on one of our trays. It reminded me of a chia pet. That's what it kind of looked like. I mean, that thing was just so covered up. You couldn't even, I think it was killing itself off because there was just so many seeds in it. Maybe overdo it just a hair.
You want to sow it dense, but you do want to make sure that it's spread out to where they can actually grow. They shouldn't necessarily be a heap mound on top of each other. You just spread them out within the tray. And for somebody who wants to get started on the real cheap, you can just get you like a little rotisserie, the container that the rotisserie chickens come in at the grocery store. Once you've eaten the chicken, clean that out, put you some soil down at the bottom, put your microgreens in there, and then you have just a tiny instant greenhouse that you can grow microgreens in pretty easy.
Awesome. And there's the man Chris back.
Finally, sorry guys, I'm internet, Anyone who's been around a while knows me and technology have a love-hate relationship. It loves to freaking hate me. So, but I can see we kept it rolling, so that's good. So, a little annoying. Let's see. So, Don't wait on me. You guys keep going. I'll catch up.
Well, I'll go ahead and read it then. Fit Farmer, for each of you, what is your opinion the most valuable skill the younger generation should learn during the coming year? Silence would be a good one.
That wouldn't be a bad one. The first one that comes to my mind is a good work ethic. I think so many people have a poor work ethic. It doesn't even matter if you're on a farmstead or not. Just learning how to have a good work ethic and do things besides pushing a button on and playing video games, but actually having the discipline to work and do something and learn the character that develops through that, I think is extremely important, and is something that is we're in real big trouble with in our country.
100%. Now, I remember as a youngin', I didn't hang out with people my age. I always hung out with the older crowd, and you learn a whole lot that way. Of course, we were all homeschooled as well, and it was just part of the deal. We were always exposed to adults all the time. So, that's a great way. Here's another one. Mike, what are you teaching at Mountain Readiness? Will you be participating in the chicken processing? Sounds like Amber's putting you on the spot, to be completely honest.
Yes, I plan to participate and be hands-on with helping with the chicken processing. And just decided this week that I think one of the presentations I'd like to do at Mountain Readiness is how to start a homestead with zero or little money. I think a lot of people are in that boat, and we had to go through that and learn through that. So I plan to share what we've learned through it, and hopefully it'll help others as well.
Yeah, that will be a great class right there. So what is a market garden, like a veggie stand, which is Mr. Will had to ask?
I would say a market garden is basically a garden that is designated to sell produce to some type of customer. So a veggie stand would be slightly different than that. A veggie stand would actually be where you would have set up for that market garden produce to go into. But basically the market garden, all the produce in that is designated to be sold for profit.
And you do it like a buyer's club, you said, right?
We do it as a buyer's club. We've sold to restaurants. We also sell to a small grocery store. It's hard to get into the main commercial grocery stores, but like your smaller mom and pop grocery stores, your local grocery stores are so much easier to get into, and hopefully I'd love to see more of those where they actually support local businesses and local farmers. That's so needed.
Yeah, not to mention the whole eat local thing. It's better to eat the food that's grown near where you live or in the area you live, as opposed to being imported from South America, and train cars full of gas. So
exactly,
definitely better.
Exactly.
Guys, I can't see the comment or the starred comment, so I'm going to let you keep rolling.
So that's a pretty good one, Mike. Yeah, what do you think is the most toxic store produce due modern farming methods, Andrew?
Well, a lot of things from the research that I said have looked into is a lot of the produce that doesn't have like a thicker outer coating on. The ones like I'm thinking of strawberries pop right in my mind. Those ones absorb the toxins and the pesticides and all that so much easier because they don't have that outer layer protecting them. So I'm thinking of something like a pineapple or something that has a harder edge on it. It when they're sprayed, they have a more protective layer to keep those toxins out. But some of those other things, they absorb them so much easier. As far as a singular produce, I would just say be thinking of things that are going to absorb those toxins the most easiest. So if they are conventionally grown, it's going to be the ones that have a thin skin, and those are the root crops, things that are just absorbing the toxins. If you can, try not to buy those items, particularly, I would start with those. Anything that could absorb those easily. If you can't get organic, but that would be my answer to that. I hope that sounded clear, but you just kind of have to think about how that plant is absorbing things. So that would be the more likelihood of it containing the toxins and the pesticides and things like that.
We got Christy Renee says, Mike, I love the idea of a CSA. It's smart and good for all involved. I will say something on the toxins and sprays and chemicals. The further we delve into this ourselves, Amber bought some lettuce, spring lettuce, spring salad mix, and she washed it 3 times with vinegar even, and I couldn't eat it. I could not eat it. It tasted like it tasted like chemicals. We washed 3 times. I couldn't hack just a single bite of this stuff. It blew my mind how it's amazing what the human body can get used to as far as abuse. The abuse that you can get used to, the human body can get used to and still function. Maybe not function at the level it should, but still function because, man, it's bad. This stuff, just like we said with the sodas and stuff like that, the more we get into it, the more sensitive our bodies get just to the taste, the smells, all that kind of stuff like that. It looks like we're at the end of it, Chris.
Yeah, that pretty much wraps it up, guys. Mike, thanks for being here, man. Sorry for my difficulties on my side, but I know everything kept running smoothly even though I'm not around because it ain't all about me. It's about everybody here. So I haven't caught up to my notes yet. I've been trying so hard to get this damn thing working. So,
thanks for having me on, Chris. I do want to say that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to be at Mountain Readiness, so you guys come on out in May, and you'll be able to see him in person. Make sure you guys also follow Mike on all his social stuff. And Mike, where can they just give him a quick roll of where they can find you guys at?
You can find me on YouTube, The Fit Farmer on YouTube, as well as Instagram, Twitter, and all those other things. But you can primarily follow along our fun adventures here on the farmstead on YouTube. Make sure you check that out.
Now, let me ask you, for your market garden, or your market farm, excuse me, are you doing any shipping, or is it just local right now?
Just local. I prefer not to get into the shipping stuff. Yep.
All right. I just asked because I'm sure somebody out there was probably thinking it, so I wanted to ask on their behalf. So again, Mike, thanks for being here, man. We will see you in May for sure, because we'll definitely be there. And for everybody else, next week we have the man himself, Duke Fontaine, on the show. Just be me and Duke, so we can have a conversation. I will be somewhere. If I have to go to NASA to get better freaking internet by Wednesday, I'll have solid. Oh, actually, I know I will, because I know where we're going to be, and I know they got fabulous internet. So we're going to be off celebrating Mel's birthday, but in a place with super high speed internet. So you definitely want to tune in for that to hear a conversation between me and Duke and answer some of y'all's questions. So, T, you got anything you want to close out with, man?
I just appreciate you, Mike. You've been a godsend to Amber and I, you and Lacey. So you guys are the salt of the earth. We love you dearly, and can't thank you enough. We're looking forward to Mountain Readiness and you guys with Daniel Salatin, the Texas boys, Homestead. I mean, it's gonna be awesome.
Looking forward to it, T.
Sue, what do you got, man?
Well, I was noticing over here in the comments section that somebody is criticizing my beard. They're saying go to Chris and T for beard growing lessons. So
I need some
next
of that too.
episode, I will be clean. I will be clean shaven because it's a crime to hide this sexiness. I'm just saying. I'm very sensitive. I was SF, sensitive. SF stands for sensitive feelings. That hurt.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it does. And guys, don't forget, we'll be on Rumble after this for the after show for a little while, where we can be a little looser and we have a little fun. So you guys check us out over there. And if not,
I'm gonna learn everything I can about that yurt because I love the idea. So I'm gonna beat you up, Mike.
There we go.
All right.
We're going to be talking yurts. We're going to talking yurts, guys. So
talking yurts, y'all.
Till next week, you guys know the drill. Be good or be good at it, and we will catch you next time. Or on Rumble.
For those of you who are viewing this podcast, you're in luck. 3 of these ugly men have grown beards. Haven't had enough yet? Stick around for the after show. Bolder, grittier, angrier. On the Rocks with Angery American and the gang is coming up next.